All right, welcome back to the dark hall. This is what we've got so far, and I'm going to go on now and I'm going to be modeling the chair here, and then we'll just duplicate. It might be slightly different, but that's okay. I'll show you how we're going to do this. Let's okay, I got the ceiling hidden so far. I want to bring it in and model it around there, so let's come over here. I'll have to flip that stuff later. We'll select here. I put a couple seams just for the heck of it. We'll see if I'm going to use those or not, so don't worry about it right now. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in a plane. Let's just pull that out and scale it down. Now, really what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it down here because if you imagine if you walk through the door, you know, the door is probably about twice your width. I mean, you could look up measurements. I don't feel like doing that. And so the chair is probably going to be, if you sat down, about, you know, something like that. So anyways, I'm going to rotate X90 and scale it in the X and just figure out how long, wide I want those legs. I'm going to select that edge and delete that edge, so I'm left with just that, and select that, and I'm going to scale that in the X and do something like that and that. And let's just maybe look from the front, and I might pull that up. I don't know. Just imagine those are the legs there. Maybe I want to scale them in the X a bit wider. Well, we'll start with that and we'll see. So here's what we'll do. Let's go back to this. All right, so imagine the legs, something like that. Okay, so I want to round these. I'm going to bevel them. So I've selected those vertices, and I'm going to press Shift Control B, not just Control B, Shift Control B. And I'm going to pull like that. So there's 2, and I'm going to roll my mouse up. There's 3, 4. I'm going to go for 5 and have it sort of like that to round them like that. Okay, now I'm going, with that selected, I'm going to E to extrude. I'm going to pull it out to the approximate width of the legs that I would want. Something like that. So I'm going to select that, and possibly I have some faces. You see those faces up here? They're flipped, and by the way, that's flipped. So I'm going to Alt N, recalculate outside. Okay, so that's good. Let's go back to this here. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to give it some thickness by pressing E and Alt S. E and Alt S and pull, I guess, to come inwards to give that some thickness like that. And that's not bad, like that. And I'm going to come in, and I'm going to actually Shift S, cursor to select it. So I brought my 3D cursor right there. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull this out now. The 3D cursor stays there so that I can just mirror this in the Y. I'm going to set the origin to the 3D cursor, and I can get the approximate width. And something like that I'll start with, and then we'll see how we do. I'm going to leave with the mirror. I'm going to press the slash key just to focus on that. And I think I'll keep the bottoms. Yeah, we'll keep the bottoms. I don't know whether we do or not. All right, press 2 for edge selection, and Shift and Alt, and click on all of the edges like that. All right, let's bevel this. Control B now, not Shift Control B, just Control B. There's 2, 3. That's probably all I'm going to need. All right, and I'm going to shade smooth, but we're going to have to do something on the bottoms here. So let's press 3 for face selection and grab this one and this one, and then just zoom in a bit, and we're going to bevel. Control B, pull, and do something like that for them to be on the ground. All right, so I just want to look at this again, and from the front. And we'll make sure everything's sitting on the floor as best we can later. So I'm going to do, I guess, something like that. All right, so the chair is going to come, we're going to have another bar that's going to come out and up. So to make that, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to use one of these edges. 2 for edge selection, just take any of these edges. Shift D to duplicate, pull it out. P to break it out, and we'll have this. Now I'm just going to position this. And we can move that. Press 1 for vertex selection, grab that. I want it projecting in front. We can figure out how far later. I think I'm going to have those selected, and this, and slash key, and just focus on this stuff now. All right, so we got that piece there. So let's do this. What we're going to be doing is grabbing this back vertex Am I in that? I'm on the wrong one. Okay. Look from, I don't know, any angle. Something like that. And then I'm going to extrude it up. So I'm just going to press E to extrude, and I'm going to pull. And don't go too high. It's kind of about the length of the legs, maybe a bit longer. We could start with that and see how that works for us. So let's come back here. We're going to bevel this one vertex here. So Shift Control B, pull, and there's 3. I'm going to go for 5 again, 4, 5. And once again, I'm going to take this edge and or that vertex and pull it out front. So I'm going to have that. All right, let's go back in. Let's give this a try. I'm going to extrude out, and I'm going to try to get it kind of the same width as this. You could do it numerically. I don't care that much, but something like that. Now, we may have some flipped polys. We do, again, on everything. So let's take these Alt-N, recalculate outside, and let's take this, recalculate outside, and let's give this some thickness. So E and Alt-S and pull. And again, I'm going for kind of a similar thickness so that it's kind of a square. We just have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about the overlap. So I'm just going to pull it up until they're not overlapping, and I'm okay with that. If it's more of a rectangle than a square, it's probably not going to be a problem. It's reasonable. If you wanted, you could go Alt-S. Let's see. We could go the other way and then move it. You get more of a square, I suppose. It's not much more of a square, a little bit, and then you could take it and adjust the position. That's actually not a bad position for it anyhow. So let's go ahead and bevel this, and we can still pull that out further if we need to. 2 for edge selection, Shift Alt and click all of these edges here. We're going to go for just 3 on this. So give yourself a nice curve and do that, and then we'll take this, and let me just think for a second if I want it a little bit out. We'll see. Control B to bevel that, and we'll come up here, and I think it may be too high, but we can adjust that in a bit. So let's just bevel that. Okay, we'll do shade smooth. Let's have a look to see. Okay, good, everybody is behaving. So we have the beginnings of our chair. Now we're going to do a cross piece on here. I think I'm just going to use my 3D cursor and bring in a cube. And we'll scale that down quite small. And I'm going to move it out here. And I can just G to drag it and scale it a bit more. We can start scale it in the Y. And we'll fix it up the length. Let's get rid of this face here. Oh, I didn't get that face. And let's get rid of this face here. And then I'm just going to scale it a bit smaller and just sort of position it so that it fits. And it doesn't yet. Take sort of like that. I can go ahead and bevel now in edge selection. Select these 4 edges. Control B. Do something like this and shade smooth, and let's just look at that and make sure that's okay. So that now it's up to you if you wanted to use a bar or if you want to rotate this. Sometimes I see that, like for example, if you wanted it, you know, like that. I'm not sure I do. Let's see what that looks like. Doesn't look too bad. I suppose we could. Let's see what the other way looks like when it's straight. I think I'm just going to leave it straight. I'm just going to go into edit mode and look from the front view, which is really the side, and I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it, and I'm just going to pull it back there and just make sure that it's underneath there. So I've got those in there. That's fine. Okay, and I'll take this and I'm just going to move this over a little bit so it sort of touches. And now we're going to make the seat. So I'm going to take, I think, maybe I'll take that. Shift D to duplicate it, pull it out, P to break it out. I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it back. I'm going to start extruding it, and the mirror is still on, so I'm going to turn on clipping so that when they touch, I can't pull them apart, and I've already got an edge loop in there, which is great. And that's not a bad size for it, and these things stick out a little bit. we'll make it hit the sides a little bit. I'm going to drop an edge to here, and actually that's all I need. I'm going to apply the mirror, and so I've got an edge loop on both sides. I'm going to take the whole thing, I'll scale it in the Y a little bit. We'll have to play with this anyhow. I'm going to select that edge, and I'm going to give it a bit of a curve by turning on proportional editing, and I'm going to pull down. You see that white circle? I'm going to use my mouse wheel. I'm scrolling up, so there's less of an influence, and I'm just going to pull it down like that. You get a nice gentle curve like that. Then switch it off. Select it, and let's press E and Alt S and push this time. Give it the thickness you want, something like that. Take the whole thing, and I'm going to pull it down so it's kind of here and sort of matches with that, so it's like looking like this. And then I'm going to press Control 1 for one subdivision, and I'll shade smooth, and then we'll come in and we'll start adding some edge loops. So right in the middle, and then Control B to bevel, roll back to 0, so you've got two edges, one going left and one going right, and pull it out, but not all the way. You want a bit of a roundness to it. And we'll do a similar thing here. Drop an edge loop there, Control B and pull. Hold Shift if you want to move a bit slower. And do something like that until you get what you think is kind of a pleasing shape to it. And we may need to put one more here on this side and just pull it. And one more on this side and pull it. I think that's all we're going to need. And then you can take the whole thing and scale it in the Y, just to make contact a little bit better. Now I'm going to bring back the door and everything so we can sort of get a sense of the scale. I feel like it's a little bit tall. Let's work first on, well, let's select this stuff, and let's new collection. Let's start putting things in collections, so it's easier to select. But with that selected, I'm going to rotate Z 180. It's going to be facing this way anyhow. And I don't really need it in front of the door anymore. I can actually move it over roughly where it's going to go. And then let's sort of look at the proportions of the chair. It's actually not too bad. And it may not even be on the ground either. So now I can come over here and I can select the chair. And look from the front, and it is on the ground. I think I may decide to go into these. Where is it? There. I'll go in wireframe and select, let's see. I select the bottoms. If I start pulling it up, it's going to change the angle a little bit. But I think I'll do that. And I think that may be okay. So I'm going to select the whole chair again. And just G and just drag it as if it goes onto the ground. And just again, have another look at it. Okay, I think I'll start with that, and let's make the back cushion and then see if those are too long. So let's come in here. I'm going to look from the front. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate, G to drag it up, and then rotate this, just R to rotate, and start positioning this. Yeah, it's going to be a little high. I want a little space like that, and I'm going to just rotate this till I feel I like the position. And I'm also going to get it a bit wider. So I'm going to, I want to make it wider in the right dimension, like perpendicular to the surface. So I'm going to switch this to normal. I look from the front, you see that Z arrow, the blue one? So I'm going to SZ, and I'm just going to make it thicker. And just have that there. Something like that. I might even move it down a bit. So now we're going to do a similar thing with this. I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to Control plus to expand my selection until I get to my outer beveled area. And I'm still in normal. And so I'm going to start pulling this down, and it should come down on a nice angle, just so it just goes above the cushion. And see, yeah, I think that cushion could come down a little bit, this one here. So I'm just going to pull on the green arrow, the Y, just like a little bit, and then take this again, pull it down till it's something like that. Now it's a little different than this chair here, which has a bar that goes across. I felt I didn't need that. So we've got our chair. I just may select this one and move it back a little bit. And that's pretty good. Now, what about the size of it? It's looking a little small to me. I'm going to take the whole thing and just scale it up a little bit. And yeah, I'm going to go again. And I'm just doing it by eye now. I'm not too worried about the scale. Something like that. Could it still be a little bit bigger? Just not by much, though. I don't want to overshoot it and have it too big. I think we're probably okay. I could drag it over to the door as well, or to the doorway. I think it's probably okay. It might be ever so slightly too big now. I mean, you can go back and forth all day long. All right, let's not play with this thing all day long. So if that was the case, why don't we for now put the door metal on there? None of these materials are going to be the final materials. But we'll just put the door metal on there. In fact, I'm probably going to join some of this stuff. So let's come back to here. And you know, I actually want to make some changes here. I want to scale this in the X. No, not that. I'm going to come back to global. I'm going to scale this in the Y a little bit, make it a little thinner, push it in. I might make these a little thinner, scale in the Y, not much, just a little bit, and have them there. And then I might take these and scale them in the Y. And just fine tuning. I do feel like the legs are a bit long, but I think we get the idea that it is a chair. It's pretty obviously a chair. So let's come back to this. And this is got a mirror on it. I'm going to go ahead and apply the mirror. And I'm going to apply the mirror of this one. Join those and these ones. I'm going to join those ones with the same material. And just want to decide if I want this a little bit thicker, this one. I could just scale that in the Z. Just make it a little bit more substantial. And then for that, we can come over here. Let's see. I'll put a seat material on there like that. So the blue doesn't really look good as metal, but we'll stick with that for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the subdivisions on these things so that I can join it all together. And I've got one piece there. So I've got a chair there. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to rotate in the Z just a little bit like that. Let's just have a look at the image. So I've got two. I can still make them smaller. And you know what? I think I'm going to S.9. We could try that. Pull them down to the ground. And we may not end up seeing those bottoms after all. Just pull this one back and this one back. Just have them a bit staggered. And we've got some chairs that look something like these. You can make thicker, you know, pillows if you want, or cushions. But this is the way I'm going to do my chairs. And I am thinking now they look a little small with respect to that door. Let's do this. Let's take that piece and Alt-N, recalculate outside. And that's got a bevel on it, and that's got a bevel on it. Let's actually join those together. Yeah, if any scale is off, that can easily be changed later on. There's the ceiling back on. So what we have left to do are the bed frames and the light, and then, you know, really decide about the textures. There is a chance that I'm going to want to use image textures for this. I mean, I said I would do it in Blender, so I'm not going to go into Substance Painter. So if I don't like the bricks, but there's more we're going to do in terms of color and grunge and some leaks and some concrete and all that stuff. So there's definitely more. This is very plain right now, but it still looks pretty decent, and to get a sense of what we can do just in Blender itself. But we're just kind of emulating this scene here. I'll just scroll back to, okay, like that. So obviously there's a color difference, so we're not going to keep these materials like this. All right, but that's what we're getting so far. And the next thing we'll do is we'll do the bed frames, and then we'll do the light, and then we'll start working on real lighting, which won't be much more different than this, with the texturing. And once that's all done, I'll either leave it like that and say, okay, there it is in Blender, or I may say, you know what, here's what we could do with image textures. I'm not quite sure, but it's looking pretty good so far, I think. All right, we'll see you next time.